So happy to have on Bianca Turetsky. Thank you so much for coming all the way here from Brooklyn to talk about your books, The Time Traveling Fashionista. You've written 3 of them now.
Yes.
And your age group is what? Who are you trying to target with these?
The age group is 8 to 12, although I know some of my friends still like to read them as well, but mainly 8 to 12.
We have some fashion behind us. I want you to tell me how this whole concept started of you writing these series of books.
Well, the concept started when I bought this jacket right behind me at this shop in New Haven called Fashionista Vintage and Variety. And when I tried it on, the women who owned the shop started telling me a little bit about the previous owner, who was this woman named Mrs. Baxter. And they started telling me about her life and what she liked. And I thought, how cool would it be to try on this jacket and actually go back in time to the last time it was worn. And so that's how I started writing the first book, where my main character, Louise, tries on this pink vintage dress and ends up back in 1912.
How did you first put pen to paper? And you said you started writing actually cursive writing or print?
Yes, yeah.
You wrote on a piece of paper. You went to Tufts.
Mm-hmm.
When did you thought you could write a book?
When it was finished.
Oh, so you just
I just kept going.
Right?
I just thought that this idea for a story was very compelling, and I wanted to know what happened next and how it would end. And so I would just wake up every day before my job and start writing. And then when I was finished with it, I realized it was actually a full-length book, and that's when I started moving forward with getting an agent and the next
And how
step.
soon did that happen? How many queries did you have to send out?
It happened, my agent Elizabeth, I found pretty soon. I was very lucky, and she ended up being the perfect person for the book. So that was fairly easy. Finding the publisher was a little longer. The whole thing probably took about a year.
That's not bad at all.
Yeah.
If we look in these books, you've got fashion in here, and you've got illustrations, and you're targeting 8 to 13 or so. And you're right, I'm fascinated about this. This one has to deal with the Titanic.
Yes.
Another is Marie Antoinette, and another is Cleopatra.
And the latest is Cleopatra in ancient Egypt.
How many more of these can you write?
I have endless ideas. I would love to keep going and going. And girls write into me and tell me, I want her to go to this area or this time period and find out more about this historical moment, which is really exciting for me because it's getting girls into history through fashion.
That's what is brilliant. You're taking something that is fun and you're picking a character in history and matching them together. In a world in which we are gaming and we're on the computer 24/7, and kids are too, they grow up, they're 2 years old, they're on the computer. You're inviting kids to read and look at these illustrations. It's sort of, I guess in my terms, very homespun and very real, but you are resonating with kids.
It's been really fantastic. I mean, I personally was never a major history buff when I was growing up, but I was into vintage. And so through writing these books, I've become obsessed with history and really fascinated by the research of it, going in through the fashion. And the illustrations are amazing. This fashion illustrator from Spain did all the illustrations.
How neat is that? Somebody from
It's really
Spain is
cool.
doing your
Yeah.
illustrations. Now you're doing something where you Skype to libraries and schools, or you go in person. And what are you learning by talking to young gals about your books? What are they telling you?
That's been the best part, really, is meeting the kids, because writing is such a solitary act, and you're just kind of writing into this vacuum and hoping that it resonates. And meeting the girls has been just the best part. And they are, I think the character resonates with them because she has her own interests, and she's a little bit, she loves vintage, her friends don't, and it just kind of, the books show you to follow your own path and go for what you love, and maybe magical things will happen if you do.
Now, another thing you're doing is you're allowing some crafting time. So
Yes.
this is from your latest book, Cleopatra, and
Yes.
you're bringing in fabrics, and what happens?
I just bring in fabric samples and buttons and some riffraff, and the girls get so into designing their own outfits, and they make these creations that are beyond anything that I could make, and they really just love the tactile, just crafting, and it's very refreshing to see that because when I was little, I loved doing this.
Well, it's the cutout paper doll stuff.
Yes.
Which I think somebody would say that's old-fashioned. As a kid, I grew up with, you know, Barbie or whatever.
Me
We'd
too.
cut it out and stand them up and play house or whatever. This is part of that. And I think through crafting, you learn a lot about yourself. The kids do. How else are you going to take this the Time Traveling Fashionista? What are the directions? I mean, you can start out writing a book and you have no idea where it's going to take you.
Yes.
What are you envisioning?
Well, right now I am working on trying to turn it into a film or TV series. And so that I think would be very exciting.
Tell me more about this. So how far have you gotten with that?
Well, I have a great agent who is setting up a bunch of meetings, and I'm making a little film myself of how I envision the movie to be. And I feel like it's just in my head it was such a visual story, and all of the girls always ask when they finish, when's the movie coming out? And so hopefully it will happen in the next year.
Who would play this person in your head if you got to pick somebody to play that role? Who would it be?
It's such a good question. I wish that I could time travel for the casting and pick out an old Hollywood actress but there's a lot of really talented kids now. The actress from Mad Men, who has such great style as well. What is her name?
January Jones, are you talking about?
No, the daughter.
Oh, the daughter. Okay, so that's one. So you want to cast this 13 years old
Yes.
or so?
Yeah.
Where do you think you got your love for vintage? Where did that come from? Because you're not that old. Where did that come from? Because I love this, you know. I can go back 50 years or 100 years and just be right at home. But where did this come from? Where did that start?
I always loved it. And when I was growing up in middle school, I was probably the
Which is
only
in
one.
Fairfield? You grew up
Which
in
was in
Fairfield?
Fairfield, yeah. I think I was the only one who was going to the Salvation Army and Goodwill and just combing through the aisles to find some kind of treasure there. I love the treasure hunt aspect of it. I love the idea of wearing something that someone else might not have. I love the history in each piece and just I don't know, there's just a different feeling to it, and I love the styles.
And you're living in Brooklyn, which is an awesome place for a lot of vintage stores.
Yes.
So
Yes.
you're probably where you should be. So in just summing this all up, do you have an idea for the next book? And can you talk about it yet? The next character?
I have one idea I have several ideas, but the one I'm closest to, I think I would love to do like a Shakespeare in Love for Tweens kind of idea. I think that Louise should meet William Shakespeare.
Oh, I think so
in
too.
heaven.
And I can't wait to see what the clothing will be. Bianca Turetsky, thank you so much for coming on, and I hope the movie gets made. That would be awesome. Thanks for driving in from Brooklyn, and good luck to you.
Thank you so much, Ann.